Hi, this is Angie Carpenter, supervisor of the wonderful town of Islip here at our wonderful airport, Long Island MacArthur Airport, in the studios of Long Island News Radio, with our very special guest today, Dan Levler, who is the president of AIM, which is the Association of Municipal Employees for Suffolk County. So we are delighted that you're here, and I'm really very appreciative of the fact that you were willing to come on and talk to us a little bit about AME and what it really means to the workforce here in Suffolk County. And I'm familiar with it, obviously, having been with the county for many years, now with the town of Islip. But still, what goes on with AME is important to me because so many of your members that work in the county live in my town, you know. So I certainly have a vested interest. So Tell me, and our listeners and viewers, how you got involved. When did you first become affiliated with the county and then AIM?
Certainly. So, first, thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate that. I started with the county back in 2006. I was hired on by Public Works in the engineering department, and I got involved in AME back in 2011. The guy who in our unit was what we call a unit president, kind of like a local captain. He was retiring, and they were looking for someone new to kind of step in. So they brought me in as executive vice president for that group, and then a matter of months later moved me to president. It was just a better fit. I was going to more of the meetings, and I probably young and energetic. So that was how I got involved there.
Well, you're still pretty young and still very energetic. So
certainly trying. But then, as time went on, you know, sitting on AME's executive board, or board of directors, I apologize, and seeing what was going on and how things were going on, you know, there was a change in administration at AME, some new people in there, and, you know, I've always felt that everybody did give it their all. But you know, we were going through some rough times. Let's call it
I
that.
recall. I absolutely do recall.
Despite everyone's best efforts, things were kind of going sideways, and it became incumbent on a bunch of us. I think, you know, we felt a bit of a moral responsibility to, rather than complain about how things are going, throw our hat into the ring and get involved. And so that's basically how I came up to the executive board. And a short time after that, similar to how it worked when I was executive vice president on my unit level, the guy who was president when we got elected decided to step down. And so it fell to me to become president. And I had about 2 years to kind of execute what I felt was my vision for our membership. And I'm happy to say I think our members kind of reacted very well to what I was trying to do. I knew what I wanted to do because I had been, you know, a member and then on the board of directors, and I could kind of see certain patterns. And I said, well, if I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to do the things I wish that person was doing when, you know, if I'm there. This last election cycle, which just passed, is the first time in our history that the president of AME actually ran unopposed.
That absolutely says a lot. You know, this is not like a general election for, you know, a countywide seat or a town seat or something. These are your peers, really, that you're working side by side with. And after 2 years of being in there, to have them really totally affirm what you're doing and your philosophy and your way of handling it, not have anybody step up to run against you, really says a lot.
That was it was certainly, I took it as a mandate. You know, initially getting in, and like I said, my philosophy of saying I should approach this job as I wished everyone else would approach this job when they were doing it. I feel like that has definitely resonated with the membership. You know,
hearing you say that, I remember, and certainly prior to my tenure in government, which now has been 25 years, having been a county legislator, the county treasurer, and now the supervisor of the town of Islip. But prior to that, I owned and ran a business. And I can remember very clearly thinking to myself when I was the small business, though it was, I was the CEO, okay? I was also the marketing person, the payroll person, and everything else, but it was my business. And when it got to the point where I was hiring people and I had employees, I can remember so clearly trying to always remember what it was like to be working for someone and to want to have them feel like they were working with me and that we were all, going in the same direction for the same purpose, same mission. And that kind of reminds me of that, hearing you say that.
And I certainly, I can say in observing, how things work for you in the town of Islip. So our offices are in the town of Islip.
Right.
We're over in
We're
Bohemia.
Delighted they are.
I live walking distance from town hall, and you can see that philosophy that you have an effect on everyone that works for you. Everybody sees themselves as part of a team, and I believe in the same way AME is one gigantic team. I have a role to play.
Right.
Our other officers have roles to play, but it is really about the entirety of our membership and our commitment to the community.
And I'm sorry for interrupting,
Sure.
but you have to really, really believe it.
Yeah.
You can't fake it.
No.
You really have to believe that you're one team and we're all working together and nobody is any more important than anybody else. And I say that when you look at someone who, there are people that would say the person that cleans the office, really they're at the bottom of that ladder, They are so important.
Absolutely.
They are so important.
Absolutely.
If there's a spill on the floor and it's not cleaned and somebody slips and fall, you tell me what happens.
Sure.
Big lawsuit, ultimately who pays? The taxpayer.
Right.
So that person doing that job, if they're doing it right and they're doing it well, they're really making a big difference. And I know from our perspective, just in town hall alone, the person that does come in every morning as bright and cheery as can be, we love Rosa. She comes in every day. And the days that she's not there, you can tell.
You notice.
You really can tell a difference,
And, that's certainly something that I've talked about a couple of times. Within the county, there is a certain amount of people that deal with the custodial issues.
Right.
And very much vital, like you said. And we've kind of been trying to find a path to get some increase to the amount of employees that are there, because we feel that not only is it the net effect on morale of the actual workforce that does the cleaning up, because they all work together as a team across all these buildings. We're talking 3.1 million square feet. I mean, there's a lot. That's a lot to handle. But it also affects the morale of the employees that work there. You talk about, someone in your position just having a concern about what if there's a spill and then a potential lawsuit and that being borne by the taxpayers. But now you've got to also talk about the public perception too. You walk into a building and it's unkempt.
Gosh, I can't agree with you more.
You question what happens with your taxes. So we certainly see, and I appreciate you for illustrating that point, because we certainly see the value in all of our members. It's vital to the entirety of Suffolk County.
Well, I know that I feel very strongly that as an elected official, as the supervisor of the town of Islip, I'm the caretaker for everything that the town owns, because the town are the people and the residents and the taxpayers of the town of Islip. It's their assets, and I have a responsibility to take care of it, whether it's replacing a roof or paving a road, or making sure the parks are safe and clean and accessible and beautiful. It's so important, and I think that there's a ripple effect. If a person walks into a building and it's unkempt, people are not going to have the same respect for the workforce or the elected officials, for that matter.
The institution in general.
If weeds are sprouting up all over the place, but if they walk by, and I'm not talking of having a botanical gardens,
of course
but
not. No.
If it's done prudently, there's a sense why they care. And I know our people care, and I know yours do, but guess what? We have to take a little break, and we will be back in a few minutes. And I thank you again for staying with us at Supervisor Spotlight as we talk today to Dan Levler from AME. Hi, I'm Angie Carpenter here at Supervisor Spotlight with our guest today, Dan Levler from AME, the Association of Municipal Employees of Suffolk County. And so why am I having a county official on our town, radio show? Because so many of your members, workers in the county of Suffolk, live in the town of Islip, as you do. So we're delighted that you do. And your offices are in the town of Islip.
Absolutely.
On Orville Drive, right off Vets Highway.
Yep.
And so tell us, how many members are there?
So we have active is just under 6,000 active workers, and then we still keep engaged our retired workforce and represent them on certain issues like healthcare. There's about 4,000 of those.
So that's a lot of people that are relying on you.
Certainly.
Relying on you.
Yes.
On a personal note, tell me, is Josephine Pasatino still involved?
So Josephine Pasatino is an employee over at the college. She will, on occasion, reach out to us and have her input, but she isn't an officer like she used to be.
Yeah. All right. So, and I'm thinking in terms, and I confuse the names, I'm thinking of the lady who's a crossing guard.
Cheryl Amuso? Or Josephine Riley.
Josephine Riley.
And Josephine Riley.
Confusing my Josephines.
Will be thrilled that you mentioned her. And yes, she's at the office right now.
Oh, she is adorable.
Tremendous.
And such a caring individual.
Yes.
And, the crossing guards, when I think about the times that I was in the legislature and we had to fight tooth and nail to get long winter coats for the crossing guards.
Yes.
And it's interesting as an elected official when you're out there in the community that people might not say things to you in the office or at a legislative meeting, but you'll bump into them somewhere and they'll talk to you about it. And I was at a diner, and the woman who was the waitress was talking about the fact that she was a crossing guard. And, she worked 2 jobs.
Right.
Because crossing guards are technically not totally full-time. So, she worked nights as a waitress. And she was saying, but Angie, she said, I feel so terrible. The coats that we have are so thin, and I know it's not uniform, but I have to wear my regular coat in the winter because I am freezing and I'll get sick.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, something's wrong here. And we had a number of discussions, and this was many years ago. It's probably almost 20 years ago.
Right.
And we actually I introduced a resolution that directed them to purchase coats.
That's great.
For the crossing guards.
That's great.
And to this day, whenever I see a crossing guard, I have such an affinity for them. I feel like, I kind of maybe made their lives a little bit better.
I certainly agree. I do agree.
It's the little things sometimes that really make a difference.
Yeah, and you got to remember, so you mentioned Josephine. Josephine Riley was a crossing guard, then retired, stayed active in the retiree unit, and we actually hired her at AME. She runs our social functions and has been doing a tremendous job. We're getting record numbers. Our picnic last year, we had the highest numbers we've ever had before. So 2,500 people roughly.
That's such an important event.
And then raising funds for our scholarship and everything else. She does a tremendous job and stays active continuously and very, very sharp.
It's funny that you mentioned the picnic, because I can remember in years past when I was involved in the county, and let me know when it is. I'd love to come again.
Absolutely.
But to see the camaraderie, of the people that work together and then come down with their families, it makes a big difference.
Sure.
And I know that last year, for the first time, we kind of brought that feeling to the town, and we had a picnic. Employees, though, we really didn't have the space to go beyond it.
Right.
But putting people that work together in a social, sit back, relax, have a burger, and just sit there and talk to one another was great.
They get to see some things that are happening in other parts of the town, different departments where they're not necessarily interfacing all the time, and it gives them a sense that they're part of something bigger.
And part of the same, unit, if you will.
Yeah.
We're all part of one.
Right.
Moving forward in the right direction, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yep.
So, 6,000 members, you said?
Yeah, and it's a very diverse workforce. So we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the people that deal with maintenance in the buildings, but we run the gamut. There's guys in engineering like where I came from, but we have dentists, nursing staff. clerical titles. Again, you talk about crossing guards. There's 32 units inside of AME. You know, Department of Social Services, Health Department, and DPW being some of the largest. But we're all over the place, and I guess it basically comes down to all the essential functions of government that's performed by people that aren't either elected or in like a sworn position. So like not the corrections officers guys. They have good representation where they are. You know, deputy sheriffs, PBA guys, everything. Those guys are separate from us.
Right, they're all separate. So
everything
that's a lot.
else the county does is all, you know, our members.
You know, the slogan for AME is Suffolk County works because we do.
Sure.
And it is so true because you don't stop to think about it. You represent the sanitarians. You don't stop to think about when you go to a restaurant and you order a meal.
Yep.
Do you ever stop to say, is this safe to eat?
Right.
You just assume it's safe to eat. But how does it get safe to eat? Because the sanitarians go and make sure that all of the rules and regulations from the health department are being appropriately followed so that it is safe and that no one is going to get sick from eating food that...
Well, within that same line of reasoning, you know, you assume when you go to the store and you buy a gallon of milk that you're getting a gallon of milk.
Consumer affairs.
Sometimes you are and sometimes you aren't. And there are people there watching out for the community every single day. They take it very seriously. Department
of Weights and Measures making sure that you're getting what you're supposed to be getting.
And when you think about that at the gas tank, you know, now it's summertime, everybody knows the gas prices and the concerns, and you want to get out and kind of enjoy, you know, what you have for the summer, but you want to be sure that you're getting a full gallon of gas when you're paying for a full gallon of gas. And there are people inside of AME constantly monitoring that.
You know, it's interesting you brought that up because it reminded me of, it was just before I left that we were finally addressing the issue of the people going out in Weights and Measures having the appropriate tools to do the job right. And they were driving great distances and didn't have the electronics to be checking everything. They were entering information by hand. Has that changed, hopefully?
So, you know, probably not to the extent that everyone would want, but the job is being done safely and efficiently. There is room for improvement, and we're going to continue to work on making those improvements. There are a number of other departments, and actually I'll give you a personal story of my own. I started working in Babylon, the sewage treatment plant down there, Southwest Sewer District. And it was on the engineering side, and we had a permit office, and people who wanted to connect to the sewer would come in, get their permit, get the inspection done, and whatever else. That was the world of Ben
Wright, if I remember.
That was, yeah. So, and Ben's still around. He's come back and is still helping out, and that's great. But when I first got there, I said, okay, you know, if I need to look somebody up, they come to the counter and they want, you know, what do I do? And they say, well, you got to go over here to these card files. And I said, we don't have a computer where I can type in a tax map number or a person's name and just get their information and give them the answer they want. I've got to go on a 15-minute expedition. And it took about 5 years. But because of good planning and proper execution, we were able to get that system completely computerized so that we can service the community. And it's smart efficiencies like that, I think, that go a long way, and that taxpayers appreciate.
Oh, I think so too. You're making it more cost-effective. I mean, think about the person running in there to get whatever they need to be standing there while you're, you know, running around. They're saying to themselves, "Hey, wait a minute, you know, they're not just calling this up on the computer. I don't understand."
Yeah,
you know. So it puts us in a position that, and you know, we certainly have room for improvement at the town. I don't mean to say that we're perfect, but it is something that we have addressed, and it's important to do that, to embrace technology and do that, because to get everything done that needs to be done with the limited resources that we have, especially in light of the state-imposed tax cap, it makes it very difficult. So thank you for staying with us. We will be back with our wonderful guest today, Dan Levler from Association of Municipal Employees. Welcome back to Supervisor Spotlight. I'm Angie Carpenter, Supervisor of the Town of Islip. I'm in the studios here at Long Island MacArthur Airport, Long Island News Radio, and they are gracious enough to allow us to use the studio and have an opportunity to have wonderful guests on our show, like Dan Levler, who's the president of AME, the Association of Municipal Employees. We've been talking, and I just want to throw something out to the viewers. We were chatting earlier. I was at the airport earlier today because I had the opportunity to replicate a little ceremony we did 3 years ago when American Pharoah arrived at Long Island MacArthur Airport. He was a Triple Crown contender. He had just won those first 2 races and was going to Belmont, and he came in through our airport. So we were very excited, and we went with white carnations, which are the Belmont flower, and a big sign welcoming him to the airport. And lo and behold, he wins a Triple Crown. So we had sent the flowers on with the trainer, and they took a picture of the flower in the stall with American Pharoah and sent it back to us. So everybody, was all excited about it when he won. So we thought, well, here we go. Another opportunity to have another Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
So we went down to the airport earlier, as I said, and welcomed Justify. And I actually got to be up close and personal with the horse, a beautiful, beautiful animal, and had our white carnations and our signs. So stay tuned. Hopefully Justify wins on Saturday, and we can be reveling in the fact that we had another Triple Crown winner. Yeah, Absolutely. It was great. So anyway, we were there with some of the employees from the airport, and we have various kinds of people working in the town of Islip, and we're the only municipality on Long Island that actually owns a commercial airport. Right. So that's kind of exciting for us, and especially as the airport is growing. And I had a wonderful, and you'll see where I'm going with this, email sent to me this morning. Someone had traveled from here down to Orlando, Florida, and said, Angie, I went down to Orlando and I used the men's room in Islip Airport, and it was spotless. It was so impeccably taken care of. He said, I went down to Orlando, and he began to tell me how he went to the men's room, and 7 of the 10 sinks weren't working, and 5 of the 8 stalls were out of order, and he just went on. Yeah. And he said, and when I went back to come home on Monday, nothing had been done, nothing had been repaired, and he just wanted to say to me what a wonderful job, everyone is doing at Islip. So I sent that to the commissioner, and she shared it. So I got to hear about that this morning, so it was really kind of cool. But, to my point earlier about people doing their job and doing it well and doing it right, how it reflects so well. And I know that the employees in the county really care, as the employees in our town really care. And it's a busy time of the year with summer season finally upon us because we had no spring. Right. So what's going on in the parks? I mean, you have a lot of parks in the county.
And that's an excellent point. As you say, the kind of work that our members do reflects on the county in its entirety, similar to how the your guys in the town reflect on the town as a whole. And the parks guys have been very busy making sure that everything is good to go, and kind of supplementing that. We have our vector control guys out there making sure that there aren't going to be pest problems associated with that, and. So all in concert and working together to make sure that the parks are open, that they're beautiful, that they're safe, that they're clean. It is definitely, it's been a tremendous effort, and they've done a phenomenal job.
Well, there are a lot of parks in Suffolk County, as I know. I was on the Parks Committee when I was in the legislature, and we certainly don't have the same volume in the town, but we do have 100 parks when you count the neighborhood pocket parks, and it is a lot of work. And having gotten a little bit of a delay, 4 nor'easters in 3 weeks, in April is not what you expect. And we had Little League openings that had to happen. And there's a little bit of a different dynamic in the town that we were able to instill, and that was the combination of the departments of Parks and Public Works. And what that did for us, because there's such a synergy between the two departments, we have parks and DPW guys who a lot of times do the same kinds of things. You talk about mowing grass, there's no parks way to mow grass or DPW way to mow grass.
Right.
But in the past, if someone would call about an issue with, tall grass, it was like, oh, well, that's DPW. Oh, no, that's parks.
Right.
And we've eliminated that. There is such a wonderful coming together of the two departments and really working in concert. And it made a big difference for us, not only in things like getting the parks ready for the season, but also back in the winter with snow removal.
Sure.
All our guys are out there. They're all pulling together. And I know that it's an enormous task. In the town of Islip alone, we have 1,200 miles of road. I don't remember what the statistic is for the county.
Significant,
but
sure,
significant.
yes.
And a lot of those county roads go through, our township. Union, and a lot of the north-south arteries are all county roads, and it's a challenge.
Yeah, and each storm brings its own challenge.
Absolutely.
The weather, when it's falling, what the ground conditions are like, the type of flakes that come down, wind patterns, everything else. And our guys, and I guess to your point, to have the ability to have anyone who's capable of doing the job, which I guess is the beauty of civil service and having those civil service titles, our guys are able to respond, as your guys are able to respond, regardless of what the conditions are, because of built-in experience of some of the higher level guys and the willingness that our employees have, that no matter what, they're going to get that. They're going to get that job done.
Go the extra effort and take a pride,
sure,
in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think AME and from our perspective in the town, where our members are represented by UPSEU, UPSI and Kevin Boyle and his team do a really fine job in helping us let the membership know how much we appreciate what they do.
That's
because
a vital
I know
component.
we've had, I guess I've only been there now 3.5 years, but when I first got there, that first Christmas, we had kind of a holiday get-together, and when the union found out what we were doing, they said, oh, we'll participate. We were having some sort of recipe, a dessert competition or something, and oh, let us do the prizes for it. So it's been wonderful for us because we have an incredibly wonderful, relationship going with the guys from UPSI, and they help us in letting, the membership know, whether it's blue collar or white collar, how much we appreciate their efforts and how we could not do what we do without their caring and their professionalism, regardless of what it is.
And, to speak to that symbiosis, that's when unions work best. When management and the union both want what's best for the taxpayer. And I would say the major difference between, say my perspective and the county executive's perspective, rather than, speak for anyone else on your side, is simply, the county executive cares about the taxpayer and cares about getting the work done. And on the AME side of things, we care about the taxpayer and we care about the workers. But we all come together and try and get everything done for everybody. And unions and management work best when they meet and talk things through and figure out, well, what are your needs? What are our needs? And how can we get to a yes? And there are always going to be sticky issues. It's easier to find war in a down economy than it is peace. But if both sides want to get together and work something out and really, kind of sharpen their pencils and get something done, it does get done. So.
Well, and it needs to get done. And,
Certainly.
You have another dynamic in the county because you have the county legislature too.
Sure.
But I think when everybody pulls together, it benefits everybody involved. And it was interesting that when you first started speaking, you said benefiting the taxpayer, not your members. And, you can't have one without the other.
Sure.
And, Dan, you're doing a fine job, and I just can't thank you enough for coming down here today. This went quickly.
Yes.
And we covered a lot, and you'll have to come back another time,
Absolutely.
hopefully.
I would be thrilled. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on Supervisor Spotlight, and we will see you next time.